Ukraine ready to advance framework to end war with Russia. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Sahih Samsudin. US President Donald Trump said he had a great talk with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and expressed confidence that she would be a great leader.
It was great. I had a great talk. I have a very good relationship with her. We have a great relationship. The new Prime Minister and myself, she's very smart, she's very strong, and she's going to be a great leader.
Takaichi on Tuesday said Trump told her, "Call me anytime," during their first phone call since her off-the-cuff remark that hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan could trigger Japanese military action, which caused a diplomatic furor with China. On the other note, Trump also mentioned during a phone call on Monday with Chinese President Xi Jinping, he pressed Chinese President to accelerate and increase Beijing's purchases of US goods, and the Chinese leader had more or less agreed. China has resumed purchases of US soybeans and halted its expanded curbs on rare earth exports, but the pace of purchases had been less than initially expected. Widespread flooding across 9 provinces in southern Thailand has claimed 13 lives, and the country's disaster management agency said on Tuesday that nearly 2 million people were affected. The flooding caused by rising waters since the weekend beginning 22nd November has disrupted daily life in provinces including Surat Thani, Nakhon Sri Thammarat, Trang, Patulang, Satun, Songkhla, Pattani, Yala and Narathiwat. Local authorities have ordered evacuations in low-lying areas to minimize losses as heavy rains continue. An evacuation order for all high-risk areas in Hat Yai city was issued on Monday after floodwaters rose again in the afternoon, prompting the deployment of military and rescue teams. According to state broadcaster National Broadcasting Services of Thailand, Thai Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul has directed the establishment of a forward command centre in Songkhla to address the severe flooding. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Tamanat Prompao instructed agencies to provide personnel, equipment and relief aid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine was ready to advance a US-backed framework for ending the war with Russia and discuss disputed points with President Donald Trump. Zelensky said any talks should also include Ukraine's European allies. Officials from both the US and Ukraine have been working to narrow their differences over Trump's plan to end Europe's deadliest and most devastating conflict since World War II. Ukraine remains wary of being pressured into accepting a deal that could favor Russian terms, including territorial concessions.
Finally, right now, when it comes to security, there is nothing to divide between us, and there are no separate issues. Everything affects all of us, and everyone needs to be fully informed. We firmly believe security decisions about Ukraine must include Ukraine. That was our position in Geneva, and always security decisions about Europe must include Europe, and the same applies to Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, other countries, and every nation.
In a speech made via video call to allies known as the Coalition of the Willing, Zelensky urged European leaders to hash out a framework for deploying a reassurance force to Ukraine and to keep backing Kiev for as long as Moscow showed no inclination to end its war. Germany expressly welcomes the US government's endeavors to end the war in Ukraine. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul said immense diplomatic efforts were currently underway.
Willkommen zu dieser Pressekonferenz im Auswärtigen Amt.
Diplomatischen Bemühungen laufen weiterhin auf Hochtouren, um dem russischen Aggressionskrieg gegen die Ukraine ein Ende zu setzen. Wir begrüßen ausdrücklich das Engagement der amerikanischen Regierung. In Genf am Sonntag gab es einen konstruktiven Austausch zwischen Deutschland, Frankreich, Großbritannien, der Ukraine und den USA. Gestern habe ich die Kollegen im sogenannten Washington-Format eingeladen, also aus Frankreich, Polen, Italien, Finnland und dem Vereinigten Königreich, um die Situation gemeinsam mit unserem ukrainischen Kollegen Andriy Sybiha zu beraten.
Waterfall said diplomats were working flat out and that an unofficial EU Foreign Affairs Council meeting would take place today. He said after talks with his Jordanian counterpart in Berlin. Romanian Defence Minister Ionut Mosteniu said Tuesday's drone incursion into Romania airspace was the latest Russian attempt to provoke Bucharest. He added that fighter jets were dispatched and attempted to shoot down the drone.
A fost găsită o dronă undeva în județul Vaslui, o dronă fără încărcătură. Probabil este aceeași dronă pe care au încercat să o dea jos avioanele. S-au ridicat în aer, au avut permisiunea de a angaja. O să discut cu piloții germani care au fost în misiune un pic mai încolo.
Drone fragments without an explosive charge were later found on Romanian territory. Romanian and German NATO fighter jets would scramble on Tuesday near Romania's border with Ukraine to respond to a drone incursion that penetrated deeper than ever into Romanian airspace. Tuesday's breach was the 13th that Romania has reported into its airspace since Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In addition to being the deepest, it was also the first to take place during daylight rather than at night. Tensions have mounted along Europe's eastern flank in recent months after suspected Russian drones breached the airspace of several NATO states. No fewer than 33,000 Palestinian women and girls have been killed in Israeli assaults in 2 years. This came in a statement issued by the Palestinian Foreign Ministry to mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The ministry said more than 12,500 women and 20,000 children have been killed by Israeli fire in Gaza since October 2023. Israel commits crimes against Palestinian women, including genocide, extrajudicial killings, torture and sexual violence. It accused Israel of using advanced surveillance tools and technologies, including artificial intelligence and cyber spying, to target and terrorize the Palestinians, especially the women. The ministry emphasized the urgent need to sustain international momentum to end the illegal Israeli colonial occupation, implement the two-state solution with the independence of the State of Palestine. Since October 2023, the Israeli has killed nearly 70,000 people and injured nearly 171,000 others in a two-day war in Gaza that has also reduced much of the enclave to rubble. Coming up next, Cuba devises felicitation for foreign investment to boost struggling economy.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
Cuba is considering a raft of measures to attract foreign investment by creating a simpler, more agile and more transparent business climate. Oscar Perez Olivia Fraga, the Minister of Foreign Investment, said at a forum outside Havana that the communist-run government would allow investors to operate and pay employees in dollars, directly hire them and buy real estate. Foreign businesses would be allowed to import their own fuel when necessary, and red tape and wait times would be slashed on government authorizations. The measures, if written into law and implemented, would mark a continued drift away from the tightly controlled investment regime style after the Soviet Union's command economy. Cuba says it has 376 foreign businesses operating on the island from 40 countries. Heavy and bureaucratic regulations, including requirements to operate in the local peso currency, restrictions on repatriation of earnings and government's assignment of workers, has long turned off investors. Cuba announced similar measures in 2014 to woo foreign businesses as relations with the United States warm under then-President Barack Obama, prompting an era of increased investment. The current outlook is less optimistic. Bolivian Economy Minister Jose Gabriel Espinosa said Tuesday that the country is negotiating multilateral financing that will exceed $9 billion for public and private projects. The package, arranged with a consortium of lenders, exceeds the government's initial $4 to $5 billion forecast. It is designed to stabilize an economy battered by high inflation, a widening fiscal deficit, and a shortage of foreign currency. Roughly a third of that financing is expected to arrive within the next 60 to 90 days. As part of Tuesday's announcement, the government scrapped the wealth tax, citing its role in discouraging investment and deepening informality. Taxes on financial transactions were also lifted. Funds from creditors include the World Bank and the Development Bank of Latin America, CAF, will support private sector initiatives in infrastructure, renewable energy, and financial inclusion. Bolivia, a major producer of natural gas and grains, is facing one of its worst economic crises in decades after years of state-heavy policies and nationalizations under the previous socialist administration deterred foreign investment and strained public finances. A surge in militant attacks and instability in northern Nigeria is driving hunger to record levels. The UN World Food Programme, WFP, has issued a warning that nearly 35 million people could go hungry in the year 2026 as it runs out of resources in December. Rural farming communities have been hit hardest. Nearly 6 million people lack basic minimum food supplies in Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states, while 15,000 in Borno are projected to face famine-like conditions.
Here in northeast Nigeria, we are witnessing a deterioration of hunger and malnutrition. Insurgent attacks have intensified and communities are carrying the weight of this. Hunger is now reaching levels we have not seen in years. If families cannot eat and fear continues to grow, desperation will take hold. Armed groups can use that desperation to tighten their grip, putting the wider region even at greater risk.
Almost 1 million people in the northeast currently rely on WFP aid, but funding shortfalls forced the agency to scale down nutrition programs in July, affecting more than 300,000 children. A tornado ripped through Willowbrook, Texas on Monday, leaving behind damaged homes and downed trees. Authorities said early reports indicate that over 100 homes have been damaged. Residents in the Memorial Northwest neighborhood were experiencing a strong smell of natural gas in several areas. There are reports of damaged structures, downed trees and ruptured gas lines in portions of northwest Harris County. The storm left around 28,000 people without power in the Houston area, though more than 24,000 customers have since had service restored. No death or serious injuries have been reported. The National Weather Service had confirmed at least 2 tornadoes, one in Cyprus and another around the community of the Clean. Meanwhile, multiple rounds of storms and showers were expected in Mississippi, Alabama and Georgia. The storm system was expected to move to the northeast, with another one forecast in the Pacific Northwest. The bodies of 2 climbers, including one from the United States, have been recovered after the pair fell to their death from New Zealand's highest mountain during a summit attempt. Police said the men were part of a group of 4, 2 New Zealander base guides and 2 clients climbing Mount Cook or Araki when they fell from a ridge onto the west side of the mountain. Helicopters continued to search through the night and located the bodies of the 2 missing climbers at 7 a.m. on Tuesday and recovered their bodies around midday.
The fall was witnessed by 2 of the 4 climbers. One climber was seen sliding off the ridge down the western side of Araki and then pulled the second climber, who was attached by a rope, off that same site, and they both slipped and and went.
Over the past century, dozens of climbers have died on the mountain where rockfalls are common and avalanches often occur at higher altitudes. 5 tourists were killed in a powerful snowstorm in Chile's national park in the southern region of Patagonia. 4 more who were reported missing had been found alive. Authorities focused on the recovery of the bodies of the 5 deceased. Authorities stated 2 Germans, 2 Mexicans and 1 British national were killed. According to the officials, the tourists became lost near the national park's camp, reachable only by a 4 to 5 hour trek from the closest accessible point by vehicle. The area was struck by a snowstorm, causing whiteout conditions. The agency, which manages the park, announced that it will conduct a comprehensive review of the incident. The evaluation will focus on how protocols were activated, how communications were handled, and the execution of search, rescue, and evacuation operations. French police have arrested a 4th suspect directly linked to the 19 October heist of crown jewels from the Louvre. Police have also arrested other suspected accomplices, but the jewels remain missing. The newly arrested man is reported to be known to the police and to be linked to the other 3 main suspects. The first arrests of suspects were made on 25 October. The brazen heist used a truck with a lift parked outside the famous museum and caused a major security review at the museum. 2 men ascended to a first-floor balcony on the lift, forced their way through a window and made off with the jewellery, while 2 others waited on scooters on the street below. The criminals threatened staff and smashed 2 display cases during their time in the exhibition room, lasting under 4 minutes in total. The 8 stolen pieces included diadems, necklaces, earrings and brooches worn by French queens and empresses. The museum has estimated the value of the heist at €88 million. The incident underlined the dilapidated state of some of the structures, as well as the challenges of welcoming millions of people every year in a historic building that mostly dates back to the Renaissance era. Still to come in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo cleared to play opening matches for next year's World Cup.
Sukan Sea Thailand 2025. Jangan lupa saksikannya hanya di RTM. Yahoo! Semangatnya sudah terasa. Nantikannya hanya di RTM. Penyiar rasmi.
Melbourne City beat Johor Darul Ta'zim 2-0 in the league phase match of the AFC Champions League Elite at the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium on Tuesday. The win means that Australian side secured their 3rd win in a row in the competition.
3rd minute and a quarter for Melbourne City as they good.
Melbourne struck early to take the lead in the 3rd minute with Max Caputo converting a corner from Takeshi Kanamori. Johor Darul Ta'zim created many opportunities but failed to convert, including a simple tap in for Jairo da Silva, which hit the crossbar in the 79th minute. Melbourne doubled the score deep into stoppage time when Medin Mameti weaved past 2 defenders to make it a 2-0. Melbourne City pool level on 9 points with Eastern League phase leaders Vissel Kobe, who play Shanghai Shenhua on Wednesday. Following the victory, Melbourne City pool level on 9 points with Eastern League phase leaders Vissel Kobe, who play Shanghai Shenhua on Wednesday. JDT meanwhile are in respectable 6th place with 7 points after 2 wins and 1 draw. Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal won 4-0 against Iraq's Al Shorta in Riyadh on Tuesday to book their place in the knockout rounds of the Asian Champions League Elite with a 5th win in a row. Marcos Leonardo scored twice to move Simeone Inzaghi's side to a maximum 15 points from the opening 5 matches in the 12-team Western League phase and qualify for the last 16. The Brazilian opened the scoring in first half stoppage time with a bullet header past Hassan Ahmed, while Ahmed Yahya, 61 first minute, setting off for a second bookable offence, left Arshota with what proved to be an unsurmountable task. Goalkeeper Ahmed Elal Sergic Milinkovic-Savic headed to sleep through his hand as Al Hilal doubled the lead 2 minutes later, while Leonardo nodded in the third with 18 minutes left and João Cancelo hit the fourth in added time. The top 8 finishers in both the Western and Eastern League phases advanced to March round of 16, with the quarter-finals, semis and final to be played on a centralised basis in Saudi Arabia in April. On to international football, Portugal captain Cristiano Ronaldo will be able to play his side opening matches at next year's World Cup after FIFA suspended the final 2 games of a 3-match ban on Tuesday. Ronaldo was sent off in Portugal's penultimate qualifying match against Ireland in Dublin earlier this month for an elbow into the back of Dara O'Shea during a 2-0 defeat. The red card meant Ronaldo missed Portugal's final group game, a 9-1 win over Armenia, which secured qualification, and FIFA confirmed that the 40-year-old had been given a 3-match ban. Barring a repeat incident, he will not serve any further punishment. The red card, which was upgraded from an initial yellow card after a VAR check, was Ronaldo's first in 226 international appearances for Portugal. Ronaldo, who extended his contract with Saudi Arabia side Al Nassr until the year 2027 in June, will be playing at his 6th World Cup finals and targeting the one major trophy missing from his list of honours. The draw for the 2026 World Cup, which takes place in the US, Canada and Mexico, will be held on 5th December in Washington. Manager Mikel Arteta wants Arsenal to continue their perfect start to their Champions League campaign when they host leaders Bayern Munich at the Emirates Stadium in London on Wednesday. The clubs are level at the top of the Champions League table alongside Inter Milan with 12 points from 4 games, with Bayern leading from Arsenal having scored more goals, with the clubs having an identical goal difference. Arsenal beat local rivals Tottenham Hotspur 4-1 on Sunday and lead the Premier League by 6 points and wants to continue the excellent form against the German league leaders. Arteta was boosted by the return to the contention of attackers Gabriel Martinelli and Noni Madueke, while club captain Martin Odegaard could also be included in the squad. There was good news concerning Brazilian centre-back Gabriel, who is making a faster-than-expected recovery from an injury he picked up on international duty and could make a sooner-than-expected return. The game against Bayern sees a clash of styles. Arsenal have the best defence in the competition, while Bayern have scored the most goals. Arsenal are strong at home with 15 straight Champions League wins, but Bayern have history on this side, winning 4 of the last 5 meetings. Liverpool hosts PSV Eindhoven on Wednesday, hoping Europe can provide relief from a domestic nightmare for the Premier League champions that boss Arne Slot called ridiculous. Liverpool have lost 8 of their last 11 matches in all competitions, including a bruising 3-0 defeat by lowly Nottingham Forest at the weekend that left them languishing 12th in the top flight and piled pressure on their Dutch manager. Slot said the team's defensive frailties had been decisive. The solution, he said, lies in collective responsibility. Europe's elite club competition has been a bit of a reprieve for Liverpool, with victories in 3 or 4 games, including a 1-0 win over Real Madrid to leave them 8 on 9 points. Liverpool face a tough opponent in PSV, who are 6 points clear atop the Eredivisie with 11 wins in 13 games. They stand 18th in the Champions League table with 5 points. The Reds can at least take some encouragement from their recent form in home Champions League games, with victories in their last 13 in either the league or group stage. Rehearsals for the flame lighting ceremony for the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics were held indoors on Tuesday, with bad weather forcing organisers into a rethink of the traditional outdoor event. The flame lighting ceremony is to take place on Wednesday in Greece. Unlike for other Olympics, this year it will not take place at the archaeological site where the first ancient Olympic Games were held, but instead in the Archaeological Museum. Dark clouds and rain have blanketed parts of Greece over the last few days, forcing the Greek Olympic Committee to bring the event inside with more rain forecast for Wednesday. The torch is traditionally ignited using the sun's ray and a parabolic mirror in an elaborate outdoor ceremony among the ancient ruins. It is not the first time that the weather has affected the torch lighting ceremony or its dress rehearsal, but it is the first time in decades that the event itself has been moved to an indoor location.
Sawadee SEA Games 2025. Semangatnya sudah terasa. Nantikannya hanya di RTM. Penyiar rasmi. Deruman jentera moped berbagai kategori terus menggegar dalam perlumbaan motosikal Petronas Malaysia Cup Prix musim 2025. Dengan jiwa kelajuan, nantikan pecutan kemenangan setiap pelumba hanya di RTM.
And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Trump expresses confidence toward Takaichi's leadership. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Sai Samsudin. Salam Malaysia Udara.